All right, my friends, in this episode, we are sitting down with Brianne Hamilton, and we are talking all things social media and time-saving tips. I know social media can be so overwhelming and feel like such a time drain. My hope is that this episode and conversation helps you get time back in your day. So without further ado, let's dive into my conversation with Brianne. So today we are here with Brianne Hamilton, and we are talking all about social media, a hot topic for so many of us hosts. But Brianne, thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to chat with you today.
I was going to say, you are on the podcast. I want to say it's probably been a couple years ago now. So it's going to be fun to have kind of a refresh. And for those who may not have heard that original podcast interview with you, let's just start off and have you share a little bit about who you are and where you live in the world.
Sure. So maybe off the bat, I am in Canada. I think some people may tell from a little bit of a different accent, but yeah. So I live in Toronto, Ontario with my husband and our 2 kids. So we are real estate investors up here, and that's really how our journey started with long-term rentals. And then we pivoted a bit, into renting some of our units as short-term rentals. And then from there, everything just snowballed. So I started co-hosting. We also started doing more property management for long-term rentals and really grew our hosting and property management business to where that is today. And then on the other side of that, I think just as entrepreneurs, we're always looking for opportunities to do different things and to really, get into areas that we enjoy. So that's how I came back to my roots of marketing and kind of PR social media, which was really my, education and my career work. And so I've taken the step into building that out and supporting short-term rental hosts with their social media.
I love that. And obviously we're going to dig into that in detail, but tell us a little bit more about the reward to be able to do something in your short-term rental business above and beyond, your hosting or co-hosting, but leveraging your education and skill sets and kind of injecting that into your short-term rental business. What's that been like for you?
To me, it's almost been like, is this really like what I can do as a job? Because it's something I just love. I always love doing, being creative. And I think having the opportunity to leverage the skills that, I developed in the corporate space and, tweak them a bit for the short-term rental side has been so much fun, but also rewarding because I see immediate returns on things I do. So it's been great to kind of tweak things for this space, learn, try new things as well, and really help grow our business in a meaningful way, leveraging, skills that I already have and stuff I enjoy doing.
Yeah. And I'm just going to give you a quick plug because for all of our listeners, Brienne was the standout star at our recent accelerator retreat because we played some fun games where we were kind of demonstrating social media and PR type questions and answers. And it was a fun game where we kept score. And I think, Brienne, you blew everyone out of the water. Like it wasn't even close. You won that game by leaps and bounds. So it was really fun actually to watch you thrive in that setting because I knew that you did PR in your corporate life, but I didn't know to what extent. So it is really fun watching you kind of showcase your knowledge. So, and I'm excited to talk with you about it today too, because I think as so many people are looking, in 2025 to really make sure that their business is thriving, that they're maximizing their revenue and being as efficient as possible, I think social media can become a time drain, and it can feel like a time drain for so many people because number one, they're trying to figure out what content to post and where, and they're trying to stay engaged with their viewers and followers, and they're trying to be creative. And sometimes it's hard when you're doing all the other things in your short-term rental business to sit down and go, okay, I'm going to be creative right now, and just have that happen on a dime. So I'm excited to kind of debunk some of these challenges with you. Let's talk about that time piece first. What are some of your favorite ways to create social media content in a way that it's still delivering meaningful content, but it doesn't become a time drain for you?
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the biggest hurdles I hear from people is that they don't have time, to do this. And, so one of the main things I look to just drive home is it's really just about being consistent with what you can give to it. Right. So, like any new habit or thing you're trying to build into your daily routines, it's figuring out honestly, okay, how much time can you set aside to learn this, to do this, to incorporate it into your, work routine. And then just start from there. Right. I think we get so overwhelmed when we see the people in our feeds who are like posting every day and they're live and they're doing all these crazy videos and, thousands of followers, and it's intimidating. Like it really can be intimidating for people. So I just try to really just, block all that out and let's work on a plan for, somebody to be consistent. And maybe that's posting once a week, right? And to start, that can be fine because that's giving you the opportunity to build the habits, to learn the tools, to play with Canva if you haven't done that before, and, work on templates and start to build those habits. So to me, that's one of the main things I like to start with people. It's like, let's just look at what you can manage because it's different for everybody. And then it's also looking at, let's not reinvent the wheel, right? There are tons of templates, that I use too, right? To make things simple. So you have a consistent kind of flow and you remember what you've done and what you're going to do. So you can batch your work. So I'm big on batching my time to build my content, because again, you may not be creative every day or whatever, right? So it's like, I know usually for me, it's more at night. I feel more creative. So, once or twice a month, I set aside some time to do my posts or to figure out, the content I want to share. So I think that's, kind of one of the tips that I like to tell people too. It's, you don't have to be on there every day doing stuff. Pick 1 or 2 times a month to build your content. You can pre-schedule it so you don't even have to remember when to post it. It can kind of be automated for you. So, there's lots of little things like that, that once you learn and get the hang of it, it doesn't have to be so overwhelming. And then, I see people often, they see that, hey, you know what, this isn't too bad. I can do this twice a week now. And then you just kind of, you build that. So I think that's one of my big tips. And then also with that consistency and thinking about things to post, depending on, different businesses, there's all different types of like content buckets you can have. And in, the short-term rental space, I've kind of come up with my own little pillars that I use, and happy to share. So it's very easy to remember. So I call it STAY. So S is my services. So this is where I'm talking about promotions, last minute discounts. I've had a cancellation. So it's kind of my salesy post. And then I share tips. So that's for T. So this is guides, things to do in the area, things to do, how to use my hot tub. Like it's just kind of these travel type tips. And this is where you can get more engagement from your audience. And then A is for atmosphere. So this is the posts where I'm showing pictures of my amenities of the rooms, walkthrough videos so people can really see your properties. And then the last one is for you. So this is where you're, showing your business, maybe some behind the scenes stuff. I share guest reviews and testimonials in here. So this is really having your audience, get to know you. And it doesn't have to be, you like facing the camera. I know a lot of people as well, when they're starting, they don't want to be in video. They don't want to be, talking to a phone. They feel uncomfortable. So it doesn't have to be that either, right? It can just be pictures. It can be you talking over something while you're doing a walkthrough. So there's lots of ways to just kind of start to share more about you and your business, even if you don't want to necessarily be the face on every post, right? Yeah. So, this really gives you a holistic opportunity to showcase your business and your properties and not make, your viewers and followers feel like, oh, she's just selling or pushing, right? Like it's kind of a nice mix of content. And it also gives you an opportunity like to have endless content, right? Like as hosts, we all have probably hundreds of pictures of our properties and amenities and how to do things. So, lots of ways to leverage that content you already have and just share it on social media.
I love that stay. I mean, obviously it has dual meaning, right? So I love that acronym. That's so cool. And I also am curious about your feedback on the cadence of the variety. So I'm going to make this up. Should we have 25% S's, 25% T's? Like, should they be even in your opinion? Or should we have more T's and Y's? Do you know what I mean? Than the other types of posts. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So for my content that I build, I literally just rotate one at a time. So it's, every 4 posts, it's STAY, STAY. Sometimes I'll layer in more depending, for instance, you have a week that got canceled in the summer. Well, I'm not going to wait till my next, S comes up. I'm going to post it now because I want to get that promoted. Right. Or there may be a certain like a holiday or something that's just come up. So you also want to be timely with what you're posting. But generally, it's just about being consistent and not overcomplicating it. So I just try to keep that schedule, but give myself also the leeway to pop things in as needed.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. I want to go back to something that you said a moment ago as well, because I do see this a lot where, and honestly, I think everyone who's human suffers from this, where you've got this comparison challenge. You get on social media, you see other people in your space and you're like, oh my gosh, she has more followers, or look at how many comments they have on their post, and it can be very intimidating and deflating if you don't feel like you're getting the traction that maybe someone else is. Just a quick tip that I have found helpful: just try to flip the script. So if someone is doing something where they have so many more followers or they're getting a ton of engagement on their posts, go into their feed and ask yourself, what are they doing that I am not? What types of content are they posting that I am not? How are they positioning their captions in a different way than I am? So instead of playing the comparison game, just flip that into an improvement game where you're looking at what they're doing and saying, all right, how can I apply the success that they're having and inject that into my own business? What are your thoughts on that approach?
Yeah, 1,000%. I agree. I think taking the time to just dissect what those people you maybe aspire, to be or have an account like that, and look at how you can leverage that, or how and it's not about copying it. It's just about taking a spin, with your own content to try to generate the same type of engagement they're getting. But, again, and that's how we all learn too, right? We can learn from others. So, part of the engagement side of it too is engaging with those accounts as well, right? Because if they have, somebody has like 1 million followers and they see you adding value by commenting on some of these posts, they're going to check you out and maybe they'll start following you as well, right? So you don't have to kind of be a hater. You can, we can all kind of spread the love to everybody's accounts because there's way to also benefit from that, right? So, that's one of the engagement pieces that I like to do personally. And I have shared with others to do. And you see results from that, right? So always ways to kind of leverage what's out there.
Absolutely. The other thing that I love to do and it's funny, I don't very often, I do it sometimes, but not very often am I just scrolling social media randomly. Like I'll do it for maybe a couple of minutes, a few days a week. But if I am scrolling randomly and I see something pop up that I'm like, ooh, that's cool, or even an image or even a topic of a video, I save that post so I can go back and refer to it, because you can get inspiration from what other people are doing. So you might have a post topic that you're thinking, okay, that's someone else's content. Well, that's someone else's content, but you can still take the topic and inject your own content into it, right?
Exactly.
So don't be afraid to kind of utilize what other people are finding success in and repurposing it for your own brand and your own business. Would you agree with that too?
Yeah, 100% as well. And just to add on to that, a lot of people you start mindlessly scrolling, we're all guilty of it at some point. But if you make sure the people you're following aren't just, kind of random whatever's, like maybe keep that to your personal accounts, but for your business Instagram and so on, if you're following other people in your kind of network who are local, if you're following businesses that are local to where your properties are, other types of companies, then the content you're going to be scrolling and seeing is all going to be related to your business. And by you sharing and engaging that, and it's so easy to just, say a restaurant posts, a big special, or they're having a band come play and you share that on your feed, you're getting their audience seeing your content as well, right? And it's ways to build those relationships. And, it doesn't take a lot of time. So doing stuff like that, 100% just really helps your content and your pages get more views as well.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on creating a social media content calendar in advance? And the reason I ask is so often, I think, again, the topic of a social media calendar comes up and it scares people, like, oh my gosh, I to sit down and do a week's worth of stuff or a month's worth of stuff just feels overwhelming. But I think it can be a big time saver to have as much as possible pre-planned. What are your thoughts and recommendations around that?
Yes, I also always recommend people have a calendar that they can pre-plan. And it's kind of your spot. Like you said, when you see something you kind of like, you can save your ideas in here too, right? So I have the template I use for my calendar is our calendar, but I also have a lot of tabs for stuff that I save or ideas I see, or also events, right? You don't want to be scrambling and thinking like, oh, there's now this, beach party next week. I got to do a post. If you have a calendar with all your local events already saved, you can build those posts, months in advance so that they're ready to go. Also, with having a calendar, it allows you to do that batching a lot easier as well, right? So you can have it all lined out, whatever type of pillars you want to use. You can just work on those one at a time. And personally, that's how I do my batching is I'll have so the tips one, right? I leverage a lot of blogs that I write for my website to help build out some of those posts. So again, that it's related and I already have the content. So, I might feel like, oh, you know what, today I'm going to go through my blogs and I can build out like 8 posts in, half an hour, because you have the content, you have your Instagram templates already. You're just popping it in, and then it's in my calendar and ready to be scheduled. So it's really helps to, keep you organized and also do that work faster, right? So you can kind of have it batched and ready to go.
I also want to ask you about your perspective on third-party scheduling tools, because I know that they can be a large time saver for folks, but I have heard mixed reviews, and I do not claim to be a social media expert by any stretch of the imagination. I've heard that, the algorithms don't typically favor utilizing the scheduling tools from third parties. What is your takeaway on those third-party tools, and what would you recommend people utilize?
Yes, I definitely have always utilized them, again, because for me, it just helps ensure that stuff's going to be posted, because I will forget, or, you're out shopping and you're trying to fiddle with your phone to post. I have never seen it really ding or have ever felt that it's dinged me, with the algorithms. And even if you think of like big brands, they don't have somebody sitting on Instagram posting stuff. They're pre-scheduling everything, and they're still getting hundreds and thousands of views and likes and everything, right? So, there's, I think, a lot of myths out there too with how do you kind of navigate the algorithm. And for people just starting, I'm like, don't even think about that, right? Like, don't worry about that till you grow a bit more. So I've used a few different ones over the years. For, beginners and ones that it's free, is the Facebook. When you're in Facebook Meta, the business suite, they have a scheduler in there, and it'll post on Facebook and Instagram for you. You can only schedule about a month in advance. So, sometimes if you're doing a lot more, it's harder if you're trying to engage more, or just kind of pre-schedule more, which I like to do. But for a month at a time, Facebook is great. The Meta Suite, and it's free. I currently use Later, and it allows me to post on Facebook, Instagram. You can do LinkedIn, Pinterest, all of them, and you can go months in advance. So for me, that's helpful because I'm able to bulk my content pretty quickly. I like to have a couple of months of my kind of standard stuff ready to go, so I'm not thinking about it. That one's great. I've also used Tailwind as another one that I've personally used. So yeah, I've found benefits definitely to make it something that you don't have to do every day, right? I'd highly recommend one.
And I love, the practicality of, hey, do what you can right now. If you feel like in the future you want to sit down and post content in each native platform, okay, great. But let's start with what we can do. And if you can use a centralized system and it makes it easier for you to be able to post consistently, do that versus nothing at all. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So beyond tools for posting content, do you have any other favorite tools you want to give us a sneak peek on that you love to utilize in your own social media ecosystem?
So I guess the main one, which I have mentioned, so is Canva. So from a design perspective, that is, to me, the easiest one to use. There's so many templates and things you can leverage in there. So if you are not maybe, the most creative type, you can leverage existing template. You can buy templates, so many people sell different ones. So that's, something as well. You're going to have to dig into that a little bit if you're going to start posting on social media, unless you are a designer and use, more advanced tools. But yeah, really besides that, I use Later, like I mentioned, and then my templates are mostly just, Google Docs. I really try to, again, keep it simple, right? I don't want to be spending a ton of money every month on software and stuff that is just going to kind of reduce my kind of return on investment on doing this. There are a couple of websites, though, I'd recommend. So subjectline.com is a good one. It is generally more for emails, but you can put kind of call to actions and stuff in there just to see like, hey, is this going to kind of give me a good, does it hit the right words and stuff like that? So sometimes I'll leverage that to help with my, with some of my content. Also, again, ChatGPT or any of the other AI tools that will help you with writing content is great. Now, again, you want to have your personal approach in there, but obviously, I also recommend using that to really help with that content creation. So you're not spending hours writing things, right? So as an example, like you can take a blog you may have done, put it in ChatGPT and say, generate, 4 posts for me. And I've trained ChatGPT with my content pillars. So it knows how to, it'll give me one for the STAY. And then, there's 4 posts from a blog. So I really get it to work for me that way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I also, want to go back to the fact that you've trained ChatGPT to get to know you, right? And I think that's where some of the challenge comes in is people are utilizing AI tools without the authentic perspective, not having trained them. And then the output that they get feels very canned or static. So I love that you have spent time, integrating your own approaches with ChatGPT so that the output can be solid, right? And viable for you. That's awesome. What are some other challenges that you see people having with social media, either whether it's around time or content creation, or do you see other issues that are common among short-term rental hosts when it comes to social?
I think one thing that is, again, sometimes a bit uncomfortable for people, as I mentioned, is being the face or showing themselves on camera. So again, it's not something you necessarily have to do, but that is, one of the aspects, especially, going into the new year and moving forward, video is definitely going to get you more followers and it does help the algorithm. But you don't always have to be the face in your videos, right? You can make videos with just your static photos and so on and do a voiceover or put music in it. But having videos is really going to help your reach. So this, again, can be a bit scary for people. But, you can do it there's different ways you can go about it depending on your level of comfort. But I think that's one thing that, this year I'm really pushing people to just give it a go, try it. And then, it's just something you got more comfortable with. So that's definitely one piece that, I think we all could do maybe a bit more of. Yeah. And then, thinking of the different ways to use social media, right? So I think some people think, oh, it's just about highlighting my property, right? All I do is just show my listing. But there's so much more, you can put out there as hosts. So again, it's just look at all of the content you already have, like all of your listing descriptions and maybe emails you send out. Like there's so much we can share. And I see a lot of people get hung up on not knowing what to post. So it's really just, taking a step back and sorting through what you have, and you can create so much content.
Absolutely. And I would agree. I mean, even myself included, you sit down, it's like, okay, I need to create stuff. And what do I want to talk about? And again, it can feel you've got this, staring at a blank computer screen, and you've got this kind of overwhelm in your mind. And again, that's why I love your STAY acronym, because it really provides solid guidance on here are the pillars of content that I can create. And then, looking again at what other people are doing and figuring out how to implement that in your own social media, I think can be really, really helpful. And when it comes to video, I mean, girl, I totally, totally know what you mean. It can be very time consuming to create videos. And it also, if you're a perfectionist, a recovering perfectionist like I am, it can be extremely time consuming, right? Yeah. Because you want your video to be great and you want to say the right things. I think one of the challenges too, when you're creating videos, is you want to be authentic, right? But at the same time, you want to have kind of bullet points already written out so you have a sense of what you want to say. And either trying to remember the bullet points or, pausing and going, okay, I want to review this. And how do I want to say this? Okay, now I'm going to go record again. It's a little disjointed. I will say from personal experience, do what you can. Don't criticize. Don't judge yourself. Don't think, oh, it's not good enough. Done is better than perfect. Nobody's looking for perfection, right? Yeah, and you will get better over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can even start with stories, right? So, reels, I think, we have a lot of pressure to like, it has to be super polished and perfect. But with stories, you can really be a bit messy, right? Like I've done them where, hey, I'm making a bed, and right, like have your camera on and you can just film yourself like making a bed in one of your rentals and then play it with text over top, right? It's movement, it's showing stuff that's happening in your business. And again, as stories, it's like they're up for, 24 hours and then it's gone, right? So, and not everybody's seen it anyways, right? But it can help get you more comfortable. I know some people will do it and they don't even do their face, but they're going on a little walk and they're showing what they're seeing on their walk and they're talking over it that way, right? So it's really just about showing up as well. The other way as well that I think can be maybe an easier way for some people to really get that engagement going. So going over to Facebook, Facebook is really more of that group community type platform, right? So I know some people have had a lot of success creating groups on Facebook. Right. And that's a space where you can be the authoritative, kind of source on maybe something in your area. So I know for me, there's quite a few Facebook groups that deal with cottage rentals. And some of these groups have like, hundreds of thousands of followers. So recently, I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner. I'm like, I'm going to start my own group. Right. So it's a way for me to get contacts, share stuff that's already happening in other sites, but also now be seen as an authoritative person in this space. I know other people, you can do it maybe, skiing tips in XYZ, right? And it's like, you're just starting a random group that people will start following, but hey, it can be related easily to your property and to having guests then, stay with you. So there's so many ways we can engage with people on social media. And it doesn't all have to be about like me, right? Yeah. So I think with anything you do, if, you can show some value, you can connect with people authentically, you can see results from it. They're not immediate and it's not always a one-to-one. I know a lot of people get nervous and worried. They're like, well, okay, if I do this, how many bookings am I going to get? Or how many followers, right? Like, it's not as black and white when it comes to measuring your results, but these are all things that people can do to really cement themselves as the authority in that area and have their properties be the go-to.
Yeah. Well, girl, I'm the hugest fan of Facebook groups, and I absolutely 100% agree that they can be an extremely powerful tool to grow your audience, get potential leads if you do co-hosting. There are different types of groups. You could make a group that's based on targeting, um, you know, members who are traveling and looking for a place to stay. If you do co-hosting or property management, you can also create a group for fellow owners in your area who may be looking for tips and tricks on hosting. And so you don't even just have to stick to one type of group.
Exactly.
I will say that for me personally, I have the female short-term rental investors Facebook group, and then we've got separate Facebook groups for our mastermind program. But I believe wholeheartedly that if you can bring value to people, as well as make sure your group is not full of the spam and not full of the negativity that can run rampant online, keeping it a positive, safe space. I've personally, experienced how incredibly powerful that can be. I get comments about that all the time. Like, oh my gosh, your group, you don't have all the backlashing and backstabbing. And that's very intentional, right? We have very strict rules about what can be posted. And so anyway, I just think that if you're going to start a Facebook group, which I'm a huge fan of, think about ways that you can bring good to your communities and help them want to be in your group because it's different than everything else they have access to online. Brienne, this is so fun. I love that we're talking about this. And I also just want to say that, for anyone listening that's like, wow, this is awesome. I want more of Brienne's tips. Brienne is going to be leading a workshop at the Short-Term Rental Virtual Summit for Women, which is February 6th through 8th. Her workshop is entitled Stand Out and Save Time, Social Media Strategies for STR Hosts. And she is going to be diving deep into, again, how to stand out on social media, but not have it be such a time drain. So you can do it effectively and efficiently and have it be something you can do consistently. So I'm super excited about that. Before we wrap up though, girl, I want to move to the lightning round because I need to know a refresh on these questions. So my first question is, where is your favorite place to vacation?
So I think I said something else last time. If Italy, Tuscany. So we did a big family trip there a few years ago, and I dream of going back.
Now, I know you just got back from Jamaica, and I was wondering if you were going to swap in Jamaica. So Tuscany still is the go-to.
Yes, I think as the ultimate getaway for me. Now, I still love my beaches, but
right. At the end of this week that we're recording this, Brianne and I are going to Cabo together. So I've never been to Cabo. Have you?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I'm looking forward to it. We'll have to do like an update. We might have to dub in, a new answer.
Yes.
All right. Next question. What's one place you've never been that you want to visit?
So on my top of my list, it's still France, and Bali. So two very different places, but
yeah. One of my team members, Chelsea, just spent a month in Bali, and she was sending all these videos of her scuba diving, and I'm like, wow. You hear all the stories about how beautiful it is, and it is beautiful from her videos. Like, it is amazing. So maybe we'll have to do an Achievers Club retreat in Bali.
There, definitely. That would be amazing.
Right. Yeah. I know. Okay, next question. What's one thing you know now that you wished you knew, maybe when you were starting out in the world of social media?
Oh, so with that, I would say going back to that consistency, focusing just on being consistent and not worried about being perfect. I can, I'm guilty of fiddling too much with things or, rewording things. And it doesn't, at the end of the day, it's just about being consistent and getting yourself out there. So that's what I would say.
Love it. All right. Next question. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
So for that one, I'm going to say what that, and I still, comes to mind quite often. It's to share your goals openly, because you really never know where your next opportunity is going to come from, or from someone, in your network. You don't know. And I benefited from this many times. So it can be uncomfortable sometimes, but I think just being, open with your dreams and your goals is definitely a great piece of advice that I've received, and I execute on it.
I love it. I couldn't agree more. All right. Last question. What's one thing and or person that you're grateful for today?
So, just to be a bit timely with, us going away, I'm going to say my husband, because he's been working so much over the holidays, and I know I'm going away for a few days, and he's not complaining about anything, and he's encouraging me, and it's just, he's got it. So, I'm very grateful for my husband.
That's awesome. Yep. Having a supportive spouse can be tremendously helpful. And you and I know people who don't have supportive spouses. And I think that's also why it's so wonderful to have a community of women around you who can be a support system. So I love it. Go, Doug. You did good. Brienne, thank you so much for being here. If people want to find out more about you or how you might be able to support them on social media, what's the best place for folks to find you online?
Yeah, so I'm obviously active on social media and Facebook, Instagram, all of the places. So our hosting business is under Junctionhouse Property Management. And I've started to build out more of my social media following under Social Simplified. So you can find me there.
I love it. Brienne, I will see you soon, girlfriend. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much. Bye.